Taja.
Okay, I think we have everyone here with me today. Shall we start?
Let's do it.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and good day to everyone. I'm Umama from RAISE and I'll be your moderator for today. The topic for discussion or debate today is Rise of TechFin, Boon or Bane for Fintech. So before I begin with the topic, I would like to make a brief introduction of our esteemed panelists we have over here today, and Mr. Yaqub Cesar. And please feel free to correct me if I pronounce your name incorrectly. Mr. Fiaz Mansha is the EVP and Head of IT at a Gatehouse Bank, an Islamic bank regulated and based in London. Mr. Fiaz is a qualified technology executive with experience in fintech, working in the banking and broking financial sectors as a director of technology, strategy and operations, and with a passion for technology. Not to mention, he has over 20 years of experience in the IT and finance industry and has continuously delivered innovative solutions to the financial sector. And the second speaker on the affirmative side, we have Mr. Yaqub Cesar. There he is. And he's the founder and the managing director of Insha, Germany's first Islamic digital bank. He also serves as the head of business excellence and innovation at Al Baraka Turk, managing innovation, business excellence, organizational development, agile projects and open banking. He's also the coordinator of Al Baraka Garage, world's first Islamic Banking Acceleration Center. And on the negative side, we have Mr. Nazrul Hakim and Mr. Tahir Imrah. Mr. Nazrul Hakim is an experienced executive with an excellent work history in the financial services industry, particularly in negotiation, business planning, sales and operations, entrepreneurship and management. He is currently the CEO of Bilqis, which was founded in 2012, MathCap, the biggest venture capitalist in Malaysia, and 500 startups. US-based VC are Bilqis major investors. And I'm happy to share that Bilqis is already profitable after 2 years in production. That's great. Mr. Nazrul is a graduate of the University of Sheffield, majoring in accounting and financial management. And last but not least, we have here with us Mr. Tahir Imrah. He's not on the video, but you can still hear him. He is the head of market development for Middle East and North Africa at PayPal. He is currently responsible for online buyers. He has 15 years of experience in financial services, payment systems, and IT with multinational companies. His responsibilities include sales, team management, merchant services, business and market development, relationship management, channel partnership, and consider about having an excellent day. So before we begin, let me just tell you a bit of how the format of the debate will go. The first speaker of each side will present their opening remarks for 9 minutes each. We will start with the affirmative side, and the first speaker of the negative side will then follow suit. And the second round will be the rebuttal period. Speakers can engage with one another directly. And the second speaker of the affirmative side will go first and followed by the second speaker of the negative side. Each speaker will be given 4 minutes to speak. And then to audiences for Q&A. And audiences, you can shoot your questions on the right-hand side of the panel. You can see a screen there. And we'll then have the concluding remarks presented by the second speakers from each side. So moving on to our topic of discussion, Rise of TechFin, Boon or Bane for Fintech. For those who are not very familiar with the terms, the difference between fintech and TechFin is basically based on the origin of the fundamental definition. In layman terms, fintech refers to an organization where financial services are offered through a better experience with the help of digital technologies. Meanwhile, TechFin refers to technology firms that want to deliver financial products based on their existing tech solutions. And among the things that we hope to hear from our speakers here today is whether they think the financial sector is catching up to the disruption of new technologies, and can fintech companies still strive to create new markets? Is the reach of fintech limited and gradual in its pace? And will fintech companies be able to retain their market share, or will we witness stringent assimilation of fintech by TechFin? That's quite mouthful, sorry. And with that, I'm opening the floor to our first speaker from the affirmative side, Mr. Fiaz Mansha.
Thank you.
Gitti. There's a problem, I think.
And I'll leave audio on. Hopefully this should help. Can everyone hear me now?
I'm sorry, it keeps breaking off. Is it just me?
It's mine. I think
There's
it's
a
mine. Can I get somebody, one of the other speakers, to speak before me so I can sort myself out? Sorry, Jakub, can you? Can you hear me? Sorry.
we can
Yes.
hear you, but the video is turning around.
I've turned the video off, so hopefully that will make things better. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll carry on. Hopefully with the audio should be fine.
But we
Yeah?
cannot see the video.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's carry the audio anyway. Just to give a quick background in terms of what Gatehouse Bank is, and I've been with the bank since it actually started as a startup bank licensed in 2008. It was an unfortunate time for the bank itself. It actually started at a time when there was an economic
I'm sorry, did we just lose Mr. Fiaz?
Sorry, Omama,
Yes,
this
I
is
think
not
we do.
working. Omama, this is not working for me. So would it be possible for
We can actually hear you, Mr. Fiaz. Oh, we've lost him again. Sorry. Maybe we can perhaps start with Mr. Jakub. If that's okay?
Yeah, of course. Can you hear me right now?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
yeah.
thank you. Yeah, thank you. I can start, no problem. Thank you very much. It's really great to be here and to be with you and to talk about this topic. Let me just give you a quick brief about me and then Insha. This is Jakub Sezer, the managing director of Insha. Insha is a German challenger bank right now. It's a German, but in a very soon time, it will be a European challenger bank. Actually, we are representing the both technology and both fintech, both finance, not fintech, sorry. Actually, I am also have some certain roles in Albaraka. Albaraka Turkey now is a participation bank, nearly operating in 17 countries and one of the biggest participation banking or Islamic banking groups in the world. And we are operate our business model. Actually, there is certain classical Islamic banking models lay on our business model. So actually, in my previous jobs, I could see a banks and a transformational bank, and then I can easily see within the Insha role a fintech, a bird of new fintech. So actually, it related directly to the topic. The TechFin, this term actually, it's coming from the yes, it represents the technology companies. They are providing some fintech services or financial services. Yeah, it's a fact that it's a growing business in the world, and also so many financial services provider. They are trying to connect with the technology companies, and they are trying to do some open new channels to their customers. Within this subject, TechFin or fintech or any kind of circumstance, it's actually in our industry, this is not the case to discuss the terminology or discuss the TechFin or fintech. It's just about creating a community. For example, in Insha, we are a technology company. Okay, we are developing our own banking solutions, our own products, or we are connecting so many technology companies in Germany and in Europe. We are a technology company. On the other hand, we are providing financial services and we are directly reaching to end users. We are a TechFin and also we are a fintech. I think these of course the terminations coming from technology big giants and also coming from the enormous banks. So banks trying to disrupt themselves. They don't want to disrupt their own business models. They don't want to transform their current business model and their current setup. So they are in such a kind of environment. TechFin or fintech terms were created and the name of this battle. In terms of, this is my opinion, of course. Yeah, we are trying to create an incredible community in Germany, in Europe, and these companies never before Insha never directly communicate or directly contact with any kind of Islamic banking solution. So Insha with the first one, with the unique one in this European consumers, we are using technology. We are using technology-based possibilities to reach this customer and transfer our financial solutions. Yeah, in terms of Insha and in terms of the fintech side, this is the TechFins or the fintechs. This is actually a boon, and we are using so many technological tools. Of course, we are not a TechFin. This is not any kind of spin-off or the Amazon or Google, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, they are incredibly powerful to reach the communities and to reach the customers. So while they are providing their technology-based solution to the customer, they just want to expand their services, different kind of industries. So financial services, it looks like a very profitable area for any kind of fintech or any kind of company. So, so that's why they are trying to convert their business model and adding some kind of fintech solutions, financial solutions, and then we named these companies TechFin, a spin-off of technology companies, etc. In fintech side, actually, within the open banking infrastructure and the regulations, environmentally, infrastructure, any kind of company right now, even a technology company, even a retail company, even any kind of industrial company, the industry and the size doesn't matter. They can easily create any kind of financial services to their customers. So they can easily be a TechFin or a fintech, even a retail company, even any kind of small business areas, because the open banking infrastructures and regulations can lead or can provide such a kind of opportunities. You can easily plug and play your services, add your app or add your website. Any kind of business can transform itself into a financial provider. It means that this rise of TechFin or rise of fintech, these actually democratize the financial services to reach the unsatisfied communities. It's when I talk about this issue, we are not talking about to creating financial tools and reach to, for example, unbanked population in any kind of country, undeveloped country. Even in Germany or even in Europe, even such a kind of developed countries, in terms of Islamic banking, there are enormously gap. And as Insha, we are using this kind of tools and we are trying to reach our communities and we are trying to disrupt Islamic banking in their minds. So in terms of Insha, and as I'm representing the fintech side, I can easily say that the technology or TechFin or whatever we can say it really makes our services easily to reach the needed communities. In terms of our vision, it's a great opportunity to use technology and to reach and to satisfy the customer needs. Thank you. I cannot hear you right now.
Ms. Umama, you're on mute, I think.
Mr. Tahir, can you? Sorry,
Yep,
Mr. Tahir.
we can hear you right now.
Okay, all right. So if I can have you present your points from the negative side, please, the floor is yours. Thank you. Mr. Tahir? I think we have lost him. If you don't mind, Mr. Nazruf, if you can be the first speaker, is that okay? While waiting for Mr. Tahir to be reconnected.
Okay. So my name is Nazruf. I'm the CEO of BillPlease. We are a payment platform in Malaysia. Our purpose is to help merchants pay and get paid the fastest at the lowest cost possible. So those two things are very important to us. Every code we push, every process we draft has to fit those two purposes, the fastest, the lowest cost. The reason is because 1,000 years from now, way after all of us are gone, possibly. I don't know. One thing, a couple of things is certain. Consumer wants everything the fastest at the lowest cost possible. So that's the reason why we bake in that understanding into our purpose. Today, we process about 2.5 billion ringgit worth of collection. So that's about like I think about 500 million USD every year, right? So we are focusing just on the payment side, and technology is the only reason. Well, it's actually people process technology, but technology is the main driver that allow us to do what we do so well in Malaysia. I have to be honest, I had to Google the title. So I haven't come across TechFin, the term TechFin before. So just for the benefit of the public, so basically TechFin refers to big, huge companies like the GAFA, the Google, the Amazon, Facebook.
Every industry.
Into the financial services industry, and doing it very well. So I am all for that.
Nazruf, your mic is muted.
I cannot do anything.
We can hear you now.
Okay. There's something going on in the background. There's like a. Why is that?
Right.
Like a Bitcoin, like a Bitcoin advertisement, like.
I'm not experiencing it.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go forward. So the problem is the problem with like it's really loud. Okay, so the problem with TechFin going into fintech is the scale of their operation, right? So for example, Google revenue outstrip every bank in Malaysia, right? But if you take all the fintech in Malaysia, all of their revenue it does not even equate to the net profit of the smallest bank in Malaysia. So that's that big disconnect between the GAFA, right? The Google, the Amazon, the Facebook, the Apple versus the fintech, right? So we are outnumbered in all factors, hands down. But I'm confident that with localization and local relationship, we can beat the TechFins be purely by focusing on what is the core value proposition that you want to deliver to the customers, to your customers. So in Malaysia, 99% of all business owners are non-technical in nature. So if you give them an API documentation, they go blank instantly, right? So what we do is we make sure we frame Billplace as an employee, as an outsourcing partner, and take away all the technical mumbo jumbo, and just provide them the fastest settlement and the lowest cost per transaction possible. And that's how we managed to compete with the big boys and convert them into partners, right? So we ride on the shoulders of giants like AWS. Our infrastructure is ridiculously low because of TechFin, right? So Amazon is doing something in the financial services, but at the same time, they also provide AWS. They also empower companies like Heroku to do the processing, and we find that it helps us to counter, kind of like we are using their weapon to fight against them, right? So in essence, technology is always there. If you look at 400 years ago, you have what we call an accounting technology, right? The debit credit, the ledger. It's a form of technology. Anything that helps you do your work more efficient, it's a technology, right? So, and then if you move along the timeline, like you get ATM, right? Automated transfer machine, right? Where you can get your cash in the wee hours of the night. And then as you get to the internet age, you get to do online payment, right? So technology is always there, and is always will be around until the end of time. So my concern is just that we might forget the majority. So in Malaysia, there's this group where we call them B40, right? They are basically 40% of Malaysians are earning less than 1,000 USD per month, which is ridiculously low, right? 40%, almost half the country. What happens to them when TechFins come in and strip away their livelihood, right? So that's when I believe that countries need to have strong governments that focus on universal basic income, right? To ensure that they are well taken, their basics are well taken care of, and ensure that they can have the right education to focus on the long tail of any business, right? So that's my hope for governments around the world to be ready, that it's a zero-sum game. It's gonna be one or two players capturing 80% of the loan business, the payment business, the remittance business, and everyone else will fight for the 20%, right? It's the Pareto principle, and we see that happening in the search industry, in the transportation on-demand industry, in the on-demand hospitality industry, and etc. Right? So there's always this one or two dominant players that will wipe everything, and they will say that they will do it out of economies of scale, uh, uh, revenue pressure from shareholders, right? But we shouldn't lose the fact that we are that we are one community, living in one world where we need to take care of each other. So at Bill Place, we always focus on making sure that cost is as low as possible. And most of the time, we are giving it away at cost. And we just focus on a fixed recurring, a relatively small fixed recurring fee, so that they can treat us like an employee, right? So that's one way how we are trying to give back to society. So with that, I hand over the floor back. Thank you.
Thank you, both Mr. Nazrov and Mr. Yaakob. I particularly like the points highlighted by both of you with regards to creating like entire community. We're all just one community, and what we should be doing is focusing on our core value proposition that is to be delivered to the customers, especially those who are in need and the underserved community. I mean, that is what we do at Raise as well. What we do is basically allowing people, those people on the street, to invest in spare change. So I particularly like those points. I'm wondering if Mr. On the affirmative side, Mr. Fiaz
I'm-
Mahta, are you here with?
Can you hear me, or
Is that Mr.
um,
Fiaz?
speaking? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh,
So,
that's good. At least I'm getting some sound.
all
Sorry
right,
about that. It looks like I'm having technical problems, but I shouldn't be. I don't know why that is the case. Um,
worry.
and hopefully it won't break whilst we are talking. I'll keep the video off. I just want to say, on the affirmative side, one of the things to remember is, I think we're focuses on
Mr. Fiaz, we've lost you again. Mr. Fiaz, we have you here with us. Apologies for the technical glitch. Just to Mr. Fiaz. Okay. I think we'll have probably we'll have Mr. Tahir to. Mr. Tahir, are you here with us? Mr. Tahir. Okay, I don't think we can get both of them, but please, if both of okay, Mr. Fiaz, your mic is muted. Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Loud and clear.
I think it keeps breaking up from my side, and I really do apologize. I don't know what's going on.
Happens.
It just keeps cutting out. I just wanted to just highlight the importance. I think the focus being on Islamic finance and the fintechs. I think having the experience of working for a bank that had to change over time and go through pretty challenging times, particularly in the UK, and being Islamic, we started off in 2008 when the economic crisis hit. And I have to give credit to the actual shareholders who's actually stuck with the bank. And now, as a business, we are actually one of the thriving businesses in offering Islamic products to the UK market. We offer, real estate finance products as well as savings products, and a lot of it's down to technology as well of how we offer in the operations. And over the last 10, 12 years, the bank's profile had to change, the dynamics, the strategy changed, and eventually now it feels like we've actually found our feet, and the bank is actually thriving. And technology has been core of it. Just a quick point on the TechFins. The TechFins, obviously, when we refer to TechFins, we're actually referring to the large, big players who hold massive amount of data that which they love to utilize and actually come and hit the financial sector in such a way that they can actually take effectively a very large share of the cake. We're talking about the likes of Amazon, the Apples of this world, the Googles of this world. In some ways, it's quite fortunate. I mean, we were talking about this 10, 12 years ago when they will come in and eventually impact the banking sector and the financial sector. And that hasn't happened, but that's largely due to the, I guess it's the governance and the regulation and the barriers that have been put in place. I mean, now we also even got the political situation. Politics is playing a part where Facebook has tried to launch its own currency, and it had a backlash from the American government. Another government started to kick in, and also the players that wanted to do it, like the Libra concept that came in. So I think tech fins largely are going to be kept out of that market because of these barriers that are put in place. But whereas the fintechs, I still truly believe are going to prosper, and there will be so many new ideas, new concepts coming up. And when we see that, particularly around the use of open banking technology in Europe and in UK, which hasn't taken off in the way it should have, but it is starting to now take pace. People come up with concepts and ideas. I think the challenging areas are within fintechs. So those who are trying to launch banks. I know Jakob, these in Germany, they're launching a bank, whereas in the UK, you can see that some of these new banks, I think people underestimate the level of cost and involvement in trying to set up a bank. I think even the likes of people like Monzo and the other newer banks. I mean, I think Revolut is probably one of the more successful ones out in terms of customers, but in terms of generating revenue, it's a challenge. But overall, I'd say for Islamic finance, fintechs, we've got good concepts and good ideas open in the UK. For example, you've got yielders, you've got these other smaller niche players who are trying to enter that market. What I would say with fintechs is the most important thing, having worked with fintechs, fintechs is not just about like setting up a bank. It's also about providing services to the financial sector, payments, operations, and products to. For example, we use one of the for our origination system is a provider of some uses new technology. It's just it's not just about being the customer service provider at the end. It's also about providing other services. So in general, I would say fintechs to be successful, they will carry on being successful. There will be failures, that's normal, but as long as they have a sound business model, they are customer centric, understand their needs, implement the right technology and form partnerships rather than the old traditional outsourcing arrangements don't work. It's more about partnership now, not the old traditional way of outsourcing. Where possible, try not to replicate what they're doing in the conventional sector, but learn from the business models that have been done in the conventional.
Mr. Fias? Yeah, but he got cut off again. Yeah, okay. If I can have Mr. Tahir give his speech while we wait for Mr. Fias to be back online. Sorry, we can't hear you, Mr. Tahir. Perhaps you want to check if your speaker is, sorry, your microphone is working? We still can't hear you, Mr. Tahir, sorry.
Apology, everyone. We are just made aware that there is a local internet outages in the UK, and hence we couldn't even have one of our earlier speaker, Miss Stella Cox, joining us. So really apology for that.
Not a problem.
Please carry on. Please carry on with the rest of the panel, Sister Omama.
All right, sure. Thank you. So, all right. So we have Mr. Yakum, Mr. Nazruf here with us. Still, I'm just wondering, you know, most financial institutions would have like scale, a stronger brand recognition, and they have basically established trust with, you know, their set of clienteles. They also have adequate capital, knowledge of regulatory compliance, and established distribution network. So how do you see this being, you know, an advantage to the fintech players as opposed to the TechFin? So if any comment on this, I appreciate.
Okay, I can go on. Actually, while talking about the TechFin or fintech, the basic concept is actually to deliver some kind of financial solution to the end user, right? The solution who's developing it is not important, or GAFA or any kind of bank, or it doesn't matter. The issue is sorry. The issue is to create a strong a bridge to customer and the financial authorities. The trust actually in our industry, in especially the banking side, it's the most critical one while trying to do something in this business. So because people, they are putting their deposits, they are putting their all earnings, they are putting their all monies into these kind of solutions, into, for example, neobanks or another kind of banks, and they want to get a very kind of confidence from from your side, any kind of fintech. The trust actually the biggest important things, the most important thing in our industry. So in TechFin side, the trust actually coming from the state. Okay, it means that there's a deposit here. It doesn't matter it's a neobank or the payment fintech or any bank or whatever it is, whatever the industry, whatever the technology. The issue is that to collect the money and on the other hand, create any kind of platform or to transaction the money, because it's about all the money and the protection of this money. It's directly related to the government, directly related to the state. So one talking about the trust side, the regulations and the protection mechanisms from the government, it's very critical. In TechFin side, technology companies, they are actually need to some kind of license to get these kind of protection schemes. It means that you need to directly contact with government or contact with authorities to protect your money and be under the umbrella of the protection schemes. So you need license actually. So the technology companies never gets their own license. They try to be a sub-member or using any kind of others license, and then they get the production side. The trust is very important, and the people in general, they prefer to trust banks. They prefer to trust fintechs, because all fintechs probably they need to cooperate any kind of bank. At the end of the day, you need to put your money on the bank account. So it's a bank and it's a protected account, any kind of protected account. So in TechFin side or in technology-based solution side, probably it can be a problem because you need some kind of protection solutions. This is the fact actually. So that's why they are trying to use another kind of license and then create the product. This is the trust side. In for example, we are digital banking solutions. We call ourselves a challenger bank and neobank. But even any kind of challenger banks or neobanks get their own banking license in Europe. Basically, people do not prefer, the majority of the community do not prefer to use this kind of solutions. Okay, they still traditionally prefer to trust the biggest banks. This is the actual fact. That's why the most tech or tech savvy part of the population are using this kind of TechFins or this kind of financial solutions. The most developed country, it's nearly 5% of the population using such a kind of technology-based financial solutions. The others, the majority, they are still working with big banks or they're working with the more trusted versions. Of course, on the other hand, the distribution side, the product side, actually the technology or TechFins, their most advantage is the distribution. Their most advantage is they can easily reach millions of users in one click because they have the customer. In any kind of issue, they succeeded to create a niche or create a community. Millions of people, they are using their technology solutions. That's why they are incredibly powerful to reach any kind of people. And also they know everything about the behaviors of the customer, and they know everything about the needs of the customer, because if I can use any kind of Apple devices, Apple know everything about me and the talks, the social media apps, what I write in my telephone, they know everything about me. That's why they can easily analyze the financial needs of any kind of people. That's why they are incredibly powerful at reaching any kind of people and creating and revenue in this section. That's why I am saying that in the TechFins and the fintech side, if we are talking about a battle in these two segments, TechFins always need the fintechs or financial solutions because the regulation or the license needs to come from this side, but they are incredibly powerful at the distribution side, the reaching any kind of people. That's why there might be an cooperation between these two segments. They have the knowledge, they have the license. I'm talking about the fintech side, I'm talking about the bank side. The technology side, yeah, they have the technology as a first chapter, and they have the customer. So when we talk about the cooperation or a partnership of this two topics, I think it will be the most valuable thing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Yaakob. Mr. Tahir, if you can unmute your mic just to test whether we can hear you. Seems like we still can't hear him. Okay, I think it's time to take questions from the floor. We have a question here. Would TechFin initially be more prone to get into regulatory trouble? Mr. Najib, would you take that?
So look at what happened to Facebook. They have this gung ho attitude early on how to move money around, right? So they did it really well with messages, and they think that they can do it with debit and credit with financial services. So but we all know now what happened. They failed miserably simply because every country has their central banks, and central banks does not just look at fiscal policy, monetary policy. They also look at the human capital side of it, right? In Malaysia, about 8% of the working adults are associated with the banking, with the financial institution industry, right? So that's a big number, right? So they need to be protected. Not to mention on the fiscal side, monetary side, right? So I'm so for BillPace as a fintech, a tiny fintech, albeit, right, in relative to, let's say, Alibaba or PayPal, right? So we always come with the understanding that banks are here to stay. End of story. They will consolidate, they will merge, but in the end of the day, banks, as rightly said as by one of the panelists, that the trust comes from the state, right? So with that in mind, we always try to partner with the banks, right? So banks have this huge distribution channel, and we partners with most of them in Malaysia, and they give us leads and prospects that we can never be able to achieve on our own. So it's a symbiotic relationship moving forward. We know banks will be protected by the central banks, and we know the public trust the banks, and therefore our strategy would be to partner with the banks to make them scale further, to make their processes more efficient, because banks are not in the business to integrate technology, especially for SMEs. So that's where we come in.
All right, thank you so much. I'm afraid we are actually has reached the time limit. Thank you, everyone. I think both sides of the panels have really raised important points.
Thank you.
It's also quite safe to say that the future of the financial services industry depends on how companies, whether it is fintech or TechFin, can leverage on their technology to offer services to the community. And I particularly like the points that both of you have raised, that we're essentially a large community, and basically it's a symbiotic relationship. So ultimately, I think the winner will always be the consumer, because we have, choices. With that, I'd like to thank everyone here, especially our panelists. And I'm sorry that Mr. Tahir did not have the opportunity to speak at all due to the technology issue due to the glitch. I'm sorry, that really is beyond our control. Thank you to our panelists, amazing hosts and audiences for being here. And I think we had a really fruitful discussion. I hope everyone feels the same way. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Assalamualaikum warahmatullah. Thank you, everyone.
Alaikum salam. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Your camera's on, yes.
Yes. All right. Assalamu alaikum. Sorry, I'm trying to fix the technology. Can you hear me?
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, brother Dr. Shahir and brother Imran. I believe we have. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I believe that we have brother Yusuf Sultan and Dr. Adyan Shah, and Sister Maya should be joining now for the next session, which is going to be on role of Sharia in Islamic Fintech's future. First of all, I'd like to thank the previous panelists and the moderator for an excellent insights on rise of TechFin, Boon or Bane. Thank you very much. And we're really sorry for the inconvenience caused by the internet issues that is happening in the UK. We couldn't have two of our esteemed speakers joining from the UK this today, unfortunately, Ms. Stella Cox and Brother Fiaz Mansha. And we have learned that there is an outage in the in the UK. So I'll leave this panel for Brother Dr. Shahir Abbas to introduce our esteemed panelist and take over. The panel should end at 29:55 Kuala Lumpur time, and this will be the end of today's evening session. And hopefully see you tomorrow again on the same timing at 3 p.m. Please take over, Dr. Shahir. Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah khair, Mansi. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Dr. Shahir Abbas from IFIN. I would like to welcome everybody, our panelists, and also our attendees and audience. Jazakumullah khair for making the time to attend this exciting session, I would say, because it goes to the core of what is fintech and how Islamic fintechs can work and operate in the Islamic financial industry. Now, I would like first to welcome Mufti Yusuf Sultan. Mufti Yusuf Sultan is a certified Sharia editor and advisor from AWAFI. He has a master from NCF and registered Sharia advisor in Malaysia. He is the CEO and head of Sharia at Ethis Venture, and Ethis is one of the leading fintech, Islamic fintech in the region. Dr. Ardianish, I think he's is he with us? Maybe he hasn't able to join yet. We will we'll introduce him inshallah when he can. Dr. Maya El Haji. Dr. Maya has a doctorate in business administration, and she's specialist in fintech development. She's currently working for as a market growth manager at KnowledgeNet with a new proposition. Actually, maybe we would like to hear something about what they do at KnowledgeNet later. And we also have Dr. Imran Muhammad, and he is the head of Sharia board at Bison Bank, Portugal. He's an entrepreneur by nature, and he's also an application developer. I would like to welcome all of you and our audience to this fintech or this session about fintech and Sharia compliance. Now, the fintech industry, as we know, has been growing very fast in the last few years. And of course, because the technology and innovation has been capturing the market in a if you want, unguarded. And if you look from an Islamic finance point of view, since the start of the industry a few decades ago, we were all playing catch up with the conventional side. So we're trying hard with all what we can, from a product development, from innovation, from market practices, to capture the conventional. However, beside all the work has been done and the growth that we have achieved, in fact, the actual gap between Islamic finance and conventional finance has increased. However, with the advent of the fintech, and specifically the Islamic fintech technology now, I see there is a huge opportunity for the industry, the Islamic finance industry, not only to catch up with the conventional industry, but also to supersede them, to be ahead of them, to lead the market. And this is why I believe this sector is very, very, very important. And this is where actually we need to see how does Sharia compliance and works, how does Sharia compliance actually works within the Islamic fintech industry, how we drive it, how we drive the solution, how we drive the product and innovation, right? And there is specific areas where we can focus on micro-lending, social impact of financing, the zakah and the waqf industry. These are new areas where a fintech can actually work and help. And with this, brief introduction, I would like to open the floor to our panelists to give us their view about the industry now, about the Sharia compliance and how it can drive the industry in the Islamic finance and all these additional sectors, and how we can achieve social impacting. I think I would like to start, by giving the chance to Mufti Yusuf Sultan to tell us about their experience and how he see these points taking forward.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum
Thank you, Dr. Shahir Abbas, for introducing us and also opening the floor. It's a very interesting session today, inshallah, to discuss future of Islamic fintech from Sharia point of view. So how I see things is that when we started the modern Islamic bank finance, particularly Islamic banking in the 1960s, and then we see the emergence of Islamic banks from 1980s and onwards in Middle East, in Malaysia, and throughout Southeast Asia. So what we see during that time, as you mentioned as well, we actually tried to step on the conventional footprint and try to replicate most of their products and just to try to make them Islamic, contractually or on the forms. Now it is time to look at the substance, and with the fintech in place, with the financial technology in place, we can see added transparency. We can see a lot of component of trust adding to the picture, which brings Sharia compliance. The nature of Sharia compliance by essence. So if we look at the which I consider like one of the fundamental verse of for fiqh muamala in Al-Quran, whereby Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la ta'kulu amwalakum bainakum bil batil illa an takuna tijaratan an taradin minkum. So don't eat each of your wealth, like the wealth of others, unjustified in an unjustified manner, except by satisfaction, mutual satisfaction. So the taradi, or the mutual satisfaction, or ensuring that the justice is there, the adl is there, the ihsan is achieved, that's the main essence of Islamic finance. Now with the fintech in picture, we see most of the elements that we consider part of justice, part of adl, is already embedded in the system. For example, looking into added transparency, mutual satisfaction, or the taradi that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has meant, all those can be achieved with the newer technologies that we have. For example, blockchain, for example, artificial intelligence, or all other newer technologies. We can use those technologies to innovate new products for Islamic finance, not only in Islamic banking, but also in other Islamic social finance. For example, you have mentioned about waqf. There is a lot of things to do in terms of zakat, mobilization and distribution as well. And then comes to other sadaqah, investments. And every particular. So when we talk about Sharia compliance, Sharia does not regulate what type of business that we want to do. Sharia gives us just fundamental guidelines that you have to ensure that adl has been achieved, ihsan is been trying to be achieved. You are not deceiving someone. No gharar is there, like no excessive gharar is there, uncertainty is there, riba is prohibited, for some fundamental guidelines. Other than that, everything is halal. Al-aslu fil ashya al-ibaha. When Prophet ﷺ was sent to Makkah and then he further moved to Medina, he saw people doing by salam, for example. He said, you can continue salam, just ensure that manaslafa falyusli fi kaylin ma'lumi waznin ma'lumin, that you do salam by salam with particular specific quantities and specific quality of products. So you have to just specify the product so that there is no gharar. So what I want to summarize my discussion. What I am trying to say is that with Sharia as the framework and fintech as the driver, I think there is much room to innovate in terms of Islamic finance, and we can consider this like Islamic finance 3.0, whereby 1.0 was when we just started Islamic banking, and then the next version, and now is the third version, and I really have high hope on this. Thank you so much, Dr. Shahir. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah khair. Very, very interesting and exciting, and I like that terminology of thinking about now we're going to version 2 or 3 of the industry. I think it quite fits with the concept that we're discussing about fintech. Dr. Imran, would you like to share your view of on the subject, please?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much. I was very happy, Dr. Shahir Abbas, and I just heard Mufti Yusuf, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless your words so we can guide people to understand what is Islamic finance. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us and enlightens the people that are attending this conference. Many of them are not Muslims. You know, some of them I also shared with them the link so they can see that in Portugal, just to give you a clue, no one knows about Islamic finance that much, as you know, all over the world. And mainly they think Islamic finance is for Muslims, as you all know, and you all have the same question every day. But you know, just to go directly into the topic, you know, the main thing I think from the European side and from the Portuguese side specifically, I think the banks and the central banks they don't understand why Islamic finance just appeared now, but they don't understand that the history comes from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And like you said just now, Mufti Saab, that we started we had this starting position at the 1960s, and nowadays we are getting to know more and more about the Malaysia work on the as a country on the Islamic finance side, even though the GCC are very, very strong due to the money they circulate in the system. But Malaysia is playing a very big role. But the main role is the role of Quran Kareem, and I think the understanding of riba in Quran Kareem is very important for the persons to understand. Then we have the understanding of the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the tradition of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sorry, sometimes you know I start to speak and I forget that there's non-Muslims also attending. So sometimes do not take me bad if I tell something that you are used to listen, but non-Muslims are not, you know, are not familiar with this kind of terms, as you all know. But you know, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا أَتَيْتُمْ مِنَ الرِّبَى لِيَرْبُوا فِي أَمْوَالِ النَّاسِ فَلَا يَرْبُوا عِنْدَ اللَّهِ وَمَا أَتَيْتُمْ مِنْ زَكَاةٍ تُرِيدُونَ وَجْهَ اللَّهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُضْعِفُونَ. So I think this is the main role that we have to enhance in Islamic fintech, and the role that Elmangos are playing is something similar that what Paddy Gosgrave is doing in Web Summit in Portugal. Why? Because we need these kind of events to open the brains of people to know what is going on our side. So I think the understanding of the riba, the interest itself, it's important for non-Muslims and even Muslims, because if we go to check most of the Muslim nation, because they don't have this kind of banking in their country. So if you ask me where do I put my money, I will tell you I put in conventional banks, because we don't have retail banking in Portugal. We have this Bane Bank, which is an investment bank, and with all respect to Bane Bank, why did they jump into this sector? Why? Because they know Muslim side, they have a lot of money. So you know, in meetings that we had in the GCC. I can mention their names without no problem because they are all my friends, the CEOs and the chairmans, and the Warba Bank in Kuwait, Kuwait Finance House, Al-Rajhi Bank, even though Saudi British Bank also, they have Islamic window. So I think mainly, not to take a lot of time, and of course I would like to hear more than I would like to speak. It's good for us to understand and to make understand people that first what is interest in Islam, why interest is prohibited, and to make it clear for people all around the world that Islamic finance is not for Muslims, is for everyone. And as we all know, many of the big investors in the UK, even though I was in Brazil, the main investors in Islamic banking investment side, there are all 100% non-Muslims. Just for you to for the panelists to understand, and the public also to know how things are moving in the world. And I hope I learn more with all the panelists. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Dr. Imran. And I think it's always important for us to set the scene for our brothers who actually don't know the background about Islamic finance, right? So it's always important to make sure that we sometimes, forget that our audience, they are all specialists in Islamic finance, not always the case. So it's super, and thank you for the introduction and for setting the scene also on the background of Islamic finance and the prohibition of riba. And that's why we are working all this hard work to achieve, the Sharia compliance of Islamic fintech. And I would like to leave the mic now to Dr. Maya. If you kindly also share with us your view about the subject and how you think Islamic fintech can grow and help the industry in these sectors.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm really happy to have all those panelists with us. I would like first to acknowledge the panelists from the last session. Actually, that was very important, the points that they mentioned, and it will correlate directly to what Dr. Imran is saying. The fintech revenue, Mr. Nazrouf was saying that the fintech revenue is much less than the smallest bank in Malaysia now, which means that it is a growing market, which means that this is our chance to have a fintech, Islamic fintech banks or banking system that can not only answer the Islamic needs, but also introduce the Islamic finance to the world. Also on another subject, this is also to say that for us as technical people, we provide the tool, and we would like so much to have this tool being used to the Islamic fintech basics. And at this point, we are here as KnowledgeNet to set the ecosystem, the healthy ecosystem for the fintech startups, by providing them the robust technology and providing them a proposal that they can use to make sure that also what Mr. Yaqub was saying in the last panel, that we can provide the technical solutions in a very low cost, so it will solve more problems. My specialty is socioeconomic management, so this is where I can easily or freely say our solution to the market has to be not only from the data that is recuperated or gathered from all the technical world, but also from the social world. In other words, I want to say that our solution to the Islamic fintech should be getting from the social need of our Islamic world. Our banking system, our financial system offer a lot of services. It answers a lot of needs, but there's a lot of needs that is not tapped into, and this is the financial people work to tap into those needs and try to find solutions. For us as in KnowledgeNet, we are here to provide the tool for those financial people to provide it or to put it into the hands of non-banked maybe, or the bank who are not really using all the services of the bank in an efficient way, to provide them this chance to do it. So what we are here to say is make your financial solution, transform it to a technical solution, and use a robust and well-managed technical partners to do that. And this is what actually we are directly here to provide you for. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Maya. I think I like the way the discussions has been divided between the panelists. I think we have the for any fintech solution to grow, and specifically Islamic fintech, you need the knowledge and the understanding of the Sharia side, right? And then how you can make sure that your solution actually meet the Sharia requirement. But also at the same time, you need the development, you need the technology, you need the knowledge of how you can actually transfer the ideas into an actual solution that actually can work, right? And that solution should be having the user experience that's fintechs and the users of fintechs are looking for. And that's what Dr. Maya is actually here, inshallah, to provide us with input and perspective from that side. And also it's good actually to have Dr. Imran with us, because he's also by nature is an entrepreneur who will be looking also on this side. So where any entrepreneur actually can and want to come and set up an Islamic fintech, we need to make sure that the Sharia side is clear, the technology itself and the user experience and the system that you're using is actually compatible and achieve the way you want to go. Now I want to go into more, if you want, depth about the things that we want to discuss into this session. And to put the ground for that, I have I actually came across a recent report on the global Islamic fintech market, and that report stated that 24% of the surveyed Islamic fintechs during that report are not certified by Sharia, and they are not going to seek Sharia approval. So in here, the question here is to the panel: to what extent should Sharia intervene in fintech? Because some people saying, I don't need to be approved by Sharia, I am Islamic by nature, right? So Mufti, if you don't mind, maybe I will start with you, Mufti Yusuf, to let us know, what do you think about this? Should they have Sharia compliance and certification and go through the whole entire process? Or you think the entrepreneur think, actually, I am Sharia compliant, I don't need anybody to support or talk to me about Sharia? What do you think?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Sushan, actually, and I think we really need to think about it. So when it comes to Islamic fintech, we have three components here: Islamic, fin, and tech. So we are talking about tech. Of course, user experience comes into the picture, the coding, the programming, and all those things. Then we have the fin part, which plugs in the financial component. There will be regulatory licenses and cybersecurity, of course, to protect both the tech and fin. Now, what about the Islamic part, which comes to the very first of this whole thing? So whenever we are talking about Islamic fintech, the Islamic thing comes in the very first. We have to screen and make sure that the product is Islamic, and it is vetted by Sharia scholars. So when I say it is screened by Sharia scholars, what I mean is that many a time, if we look from the 1960s, as I mentioned again and again, that this is we can consider this like Islamic Finance 3.0. So if you look at the first version and second version, we have actually emphasized a lot on banking sector. If you look at international Sharia standards, international FIC bodies, a lot of financial standards, sorry, there was a poll coming in. So a lot of financial, lot of standards, qararat, like resolutions, those were catered for banking sector. Then we have this takaful or insurance. But what about beyond that? So when it comes to fintech, when it comes to equity, when it comes to things beyond banking sector and formal financial sector, there are a lot of things still not properly addressed, or we don't yet find concrete resolutions, shared resolutions. So there are still a lot of things to research for the Sharia scholars to give a proper Sharia resolution on that. So when it comes to fintech, I see a lot of new innovations are there, and we really welcome and appreciate the new innovations. But at the same time, we cannot compromise on Sharia compliance. So it has to be there, and it has to be an integral part of the solution. So I understand the 24% that you have referred to, who are not either seeking Sharia compliance or do not intend to seek Sharia compliance in the future. One consideration maybe they have is looking at Sharia compliance as an additional cost. But Sharia compliance, if it is considered and a very important integral component of the whole picture, then it's not a cost, it's an investment. It's an investment, and we can work on automation of Sharia compliance. We can decrease the cost, but in various ways. But there has to be some sort of Sharia compliance into the picture, so that whenever we are addressing to the Muslims, but in particular, and we are saying it's Islamic, it is there. Number two is whenever, even if it is not for Muslims, as Dr. Imran has mentioned, Islamic finance is not particularly for Muslims. Islamic finance is for the whole human being. As I mentioned as well previously, that if we look at Al-Quran, we look at Sunnah, one of the primary objective of all those regulations in finance is to ensure that the justice is there for both the seller and the buyer, for both the parties in the partnership contract, and so on and so forth. So to happen, we need the Sharia compliance into the whole picture. I think maybe once we roll into the discussion more, inshallah, I can share later on. Thank you so much, Dr. Shahir Abbas. Jazakallah khairan.
Jazakallah khair, Mufti Yusuf. I think the question of the cost is we're going to discuss this in more details later on. This is a very important element of the discussion today. So we'll talk about it more. But to have the discussion from the point of view of the entrepreneur themselves, not all fintechs need Sharia compliance, right? They will say, for example, if you are a payment fintech solution, right? So maybe they are by default Sharia compliance, right? They just have to let their customers state that actually you should not use our solution to do anything which is not Sharia, or to pay for anything which is not Sharia compliant. I would like Dr. Imran to let us know, what do you think about that? Would some solution be by nature Sharia compliance and they don't really need the Sharia, or even these solutions that's as long as you present yourself, or you bring yourself, or you state yourself that you're Sharia compliant, then by default you should have a certificate of Sharia compliant. Otherwise, don't say that you are Sharia compliant by nature. What do you think about this, Dr. Imran?
Dr. Shahir Abbas, thank you very much, and once again, thank you very much, Mufti Yusuf and Dr. Amaya. Thank you very much for the brief that you gave. We want to hear more from you also, because I think your perspective is quite interesting for the public to you are here to give us more audience, because people are here more to hear you than to hear me and Mufti Yusuf. Mufti Yusuf, yes, me, I'm the third one, so I'm not the one they want to hear more. But what I wanted to tell is, first, we need to understand not all ulama, they are they have guidance and understanding about Islamic finance. It's not just saying, okay, interest is forbidden, whatever is okay. It's not the way it goes. We have to have a guideline, because this is like having a grammar book, a Nahu book. I can teach it, okay, but of course, one teacher of Kulliyat al-Lugha from the faculty of language, he can teach better than me, of course, without no doubt. So I think first we have to understand who will be the one who will certify the product. Secondly, this is not just like halal, like the slaughtering houses. We just go there, or restaurants, and we ask any certificate, because unfortunately in many of, I'm not saying in the Muslim countries, but outside the Muslim countries, let's go to the UK. You have hundreds of institutions that give halal certificates. How that they are credible or no? I think this is very important for us to understand, that who will be the institution that will certify the product or the new application. And the third point of view is the central banks. The central banks must play a big role on this. But if you go to Portugal, I'm saying, the Portuguese speaking countries, why? Because this is my bread and butter every day. But the one who speaks about Portugal and Brazil, he can the public that is from France, from Germany, from Norway, from Sweden, wherever, they there in the central banks, there is no knowledge, completely no knowledge about Islamic finance. What about fintech? You understand? This is the problem. So we have to understand, and the certification needs to come with central bank plus plus this institution, meaning the central bank needs to get someone that is or a team that can certify this kind of products. Why? Because as we all know, the world is in need. The world is in need of innovation, and we have this kind of Muslims and non-Muslims also that understand about fintech. Suddenly I'll just tell you a case that once I was speaking with let's say a friend from Spain, and he was telling me everything that we all know about Islamic finance. And I was like, what? How you know all this? Listen, I read about Islamic finance probably for 2 years. Now I'm developing an application for Islamic finance. So how you can migrate and how you can make it easy, the understanding for Muslim youth, what is Islamic finance. So you just understand, Islamic finance is not just for Muslims, as we all know. A non-Muslim is trying to make it easy, the understanding for our community, let's say the Islamic community. We are not being on the right side and putting the non-Muslims on the left side, but just to give us a clue, I think it's important for us to have this kind of interaction with central banks, with institutions, and with people that are capable. This is the main thing. People which are capable to certify the products. This is not just saying, okay, I will just check the factory of bread that produces bread, and let's see if they have pork, or they have alcohol, or they have palm oil with something with enzymes. And this is not like this. Fintech, with all respect, and I think all of the panelists will agree with me, it's a bit more complicated than certifying food. So this is my contribution, and of course, inshallah, afterwards I will share also a study that PricewaterhouseCoopers also said about the conventional and the Islamic side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Imran. I think it's an interesting perspective about who should we trust and how we should trust, and what type of level of Sharia compliance we should achieve when we talk about Sharia compliance fintech. Maybe I want to, because you, Dr. Maya, you are more on the technical side. I would like to hear from you whether you had some experience before about, designing an Islamic fintech solution or not, and how the interaction with the Sharia side from development point of view, is it clear? Was it clear what is needed to be done from technology point of view to achieve the Sharia side or not? How different it is to develop something Islamic compared to something which is not from a technical point of view?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Shahir. For us, as I said before, this is a tool that we are providing that we can customize in a Sharia compliance or none. We operate in Saudi Arabia, so most of our clients, maybe all of our clients, are bank systems and the complications of bank. All of them are Sharia compliant in a way or another. We don't go very deep on how their product is designed to be Sharia compliant or not, but we know that they are taking all the measures to have that. From this experience, we went to, in banking, we went to offering our product to the fintech, to the startups, knowing that or feeling the responsibility that we need to build a healthier ecosystem for the fintech startups, especially the startups, because they tend to cut some corners when it comes to technology. So what we're trying to do is telling them, don't start small, think big. If you have an idea, just develop it and design it to live 100 years. That means get your finances in the right way and thinking big. Get your if you want it to be Sharia compliant, get it from the beginning, from the start. Don't wait till it is accepted to the market or not, and then get it Sharia compliant, which is a big thing by now. It's not just answering a need; it's also having all the attributes that will get you to be the big complex that you want to be. And one of the things is having the tool, the technical tool, the healthy tool that will get you to where you actually want to be. And at this point, actually, what we are offering now is to have the robust technology that we are offering to the banking system and put it in the hand of those startups to have their buildings or their dream actually built the right way and the compliant to all the attributes, not only this Sharia. So what we're offering is having this robust technology that we've been developing for 20 years in their hands for less than the cost development, with some equity and some advisory. So we will have the best tools for them to use in realizing their dream. The thing is, we don't want them to be stuck in realizing some part of the dream. We want them to always think big and think to the future of their project. So at this from this talk, we want to provide the market. Actually, we want to build this new market on the right side. So anybody who has this technical, like your friend Dr. Imran, who is trying to build this application and he needs any help in the technical side, we will be here to help him in all means. Actually, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Maya. I think it's good for us now to maybe go onto more details about the functionality. So when we talk about an Islamic fintech, what does it mean from a product point of view, from a product design? And we had our discussion, Dr. Maya and I, before about the solution they offer, and from a coding point of view and digital point of view, you actually the basic scenarios on the basic, if you want, functionalities will stay the same usually. However, the business logic for the product, right, might have to be different, because then when you build the business logic has to be Sharia compliant, while maybe the majority of the code actually can still be shared with different types of service providers and different types of even fintechs, right? So I would like to have the Dr. Youssef or Mufti Youssef to let us know, when you go for a new product, what do you do actually? How do you bring the Sharia side into the product design for a fintech solution?
Yep. Thank you, Dr. Shahir Abbas. I would actually like to touch a bit on the previous question a bit, just in very brief, and then I will go to the next question, inshallah. So the previous question, which we wanted to discuss, actually, like some solutions by nature, they look like Sharia compliant. Why would they require additional Sharia compliance? Right? And you gave an example of payment gateways. So I just wanted to share about payment gateways. Like many of the payment gateways that we have, I would not name, but there are very high profile or well-known payment gateways. They explicitly mention in their product disclosure or terms and conditions that the money that they will hold as a wallet will be put in a interest-bearing bank, and the interest will not be shared with the depositors or the transactors. While from the strict sense of Sharia, it is not Sharia non-compliant. However, someone who would like to have the entire chain Sharia compliant would like to avoid that as well. Now, this on top of screening the products that is being purchased through the payment gateway, which you have pointed out as well. So that's a different topic. I'm not touching that. And on the credibility issue, I'm very much aligned with what Dr. Imran has mentioned. So in Malaysia, what we see, like if the product is being offered as an investment or a security, then it has to be and it is disclosed as an Islamic product or Sharia compliant product. Then firstly it will go under the Securities Commission, under the capital market regulations, and then there is another department called Islamic Capital Market, which also has a SSC or Sharia Advisory Council under that. So they have certain resolutions, certain fatwas, and with that, or in line with that, the registered Sharia advisors, which are just a handful of Sharia advisors, so they are allowed to certify the digital product. So what they will do 2 steps of digital product screening. So this is where the next question that you have asked just now, how actually or where actually the Sharia compliance or Sharia screening process comes into a new product. So what they do is, in Malaysia, what we do is there is 2 steps. First is the business itself, it has to be Sharia compliant. So what it means is that the primary product of the business has to be Sharia compliant, like the fintech, for example. So what actually they are doing, for example, they are lending on interest. So primarily it is not compliant at all in nature. Secondly, if it has multiple products, then each product has to be screened individually as well. So what product is mentioned very as well. The code itself does not change. The fundamental coding of the coder or the programmer does not change. I also have some background in coding. Last time I used to code in my part-time. So what we do when application development, the fundamental coding still remains the same. I see some questions also in the forum. Maybe inshallah in the QA session we will address. The framework itself does not have any Sharia implications, like blockchain. Is it halal or haram? There is no answer. I mean, no yes or no. It's a framework. It's a code. Now, what we are building on the code, that is what is of importance to the Sharia officer or Sharia advisor or Sharia consultant. So what we will see, what the business logic is, how the business will run. So the code here is just an enabler. That's it. How the business is running, what is the profitable revenue model, what are the business structure, underlying business structure, that's it. So when we do the Sharia, screening of that, and that is compliant, then the fintech product is compliant as well. So it's not about going through the code itself. Yes, maybe there will be some logic checking, that's it. But other than that, it's the apparent product that is built on the code, which is neutral. Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Shariah. Jazakallah khair.
Thank you, Mufti Yusuf. I think there is more questions from the public, which I would like to engage them more, maybe, with us today. Abdul Mu'min was saying, does a WAFI or any Sharia advisory issue any resolution on fintech? I think from my knowledge and experience, that's a WAFI is working on something now, on a new standard for Islamic fintech. Now it might take some time to actually to see the light, but it is actually, there is a requirement, I think, for the industry to start standardizing between all different parts and actually making sure that there is a one way to develop the industry in the right way. And there is one of the comments also from Abdul Salam was saying that he thinks that each fintech should have their own Sharia board, which I think, when we have the standards from a WAFI, I think within that standards, they will say that if you want to have, if you want to call yourself a Sharia compliant or an Islamic fintech, then by definition, you should have if you want a Sharia board. And I think there is one of the sections also I want to discuss, which is related to the Sharia governance framework within. And I think maybe this is a good introduction now to talk about it, because if you want to do an Islamic fintech, then how you can make sure this happens. And I'm very aware of the time, and we have so many questions. So I think if you can, guys, our panelists, kindly briefly discuss this in a very short and concise way. I think Mufti Yusuf, if you tell us about your experience at ETHIS, what do you have in terms of processes, procedures, control, internally, how you see the engagement on the Sharia side on that level, if you don't mind.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Shahir Abbas. Jazakallah khairan. So in our ethics experience, what we do is, like, there has to be a balance between the Sharia governance framework of banks or bigger financial institutions and the startups. So we understand that, we cannot have that same capacity due to many limitations that we have. But what we do in the very least is that we try to engage as much as possible and empower our team members. So the team members are well aware of the Sharia understanding and Sharia compliance processes. So what I find in my experience is that if we empower them and they have the proper knowledge and understanding, they are all mostly aligned with the primary structure and the basic things. Then there are only few things here and there which will need to be addressed in an ad hoc basis, especially since we work with investments with different types of developers, different types of investment projects, from real estate to various different types of financing. So there are some Sharia screening process in the beginning before we onboard the project. Then sometimes there are issues happening during the project. Let's say if it's a musharaka contract or a mudaraba contract, and there is some negligence on the part of partner, the other partner or the developing partner. So there is also a Sharia issue triggering, and we have to step in. And other than that, when the project closes and there is a profit sharing, a profit actualization issue, so there are things here and there which we have to jot down. But there is, of course, it's quite different from bigger financial institutions. And I hope IOP maybe would have a different version of Sharia governance framework for startups who do fintech, because it will not be feasible for them to have similar Sharia governance requirement like the bigger financial institutions. Thank you so much, Jazakallah.
I agree with you. I think that there has to be a lighter version for that. And by the way, I am, from my background as a consultant in the Sharia advisory sector, we in IFAS, our company, we have designed a specific proposition for startups, also for fintech, Islamic fintechs, where we can provide them the guidance, the support, and the Sharia certificate in a very reasonable amount, right? So make sure that actually we increase the access to the Sharia services for fintechs. So this is the way we think that we can engage a bigger number of startups, helping them to grow, helping them to achieve Sharia compliance, with a minimum amount, and even sometimes with deferred payment, long-term payment plan, just to make sure, because as you know, with entrepreneur, it's very difficult, to put all the money up in the beginning. I would like to ask, there is one more question, I think, from Nu'man al-Haq. He's saying that there is about 2 billion people who don't have basic accounts. How do you think that the Sharia compliance system gonna take care of this challenge? And I would like, Dr. Imran to say, how do you think we can actually reach out to these, billions of people that actually don't have yet a basic accounts, and how the Islamic fintech can actually help them to do that specifically?
Firstly, I would like to thank for the question of the brother Nu'man, I think. Nu'man al-Haq. He made a very, very deep question to the panelists. I think nowadays this is the main question for everyone also. Not I will answer, I will give him, or I will give everyone my point of view, but we also need to understand that today I mean these days that we are in this event that Elmangos promoted, we should enhance and we should give this entrepreneurship mind to all that are listening to our conversation and the ones that they will listen afterwards. Why? Because today these 2 billion, like he said, it's not easy. It's a very big challenge, and Muslims and non-Muslims should start to understand that they have to conquer at least 10% of this market. If we are a lot, so we can conquer and we can achieve that 2 billion number. But it's not easy completely. It's not a big game. It's the same thing if you ask anyone from, let's say, that countries that they don't have water, like in Africa until today, they don't have water. So imagine accounts. So 2 billion people, it's a lot. So it's a big challenging game. And I don't know, I'm not a solution provider, but I think fintechs can play and must play a big role on that. And I just wanted to add something on the in the discussion that we are having today, which is we have to understand. Even I was this is a PricewaterhouseCoopers a report that they gave about this after this COVID-19, and they are also everyone is worried, of course, but they are very worried, saying that fintechs, they will take the biggest role on the banking side, and the big banks, they must engage themselves with fintechs. So today, I think we have to understand that fintechs with banks, conventional banks, Islamic banks, we need to engage them together, and we need to make it a reality, which is our dream. I saw the work that Etis is doing. Alhamdulillah, it's a very, very good work. I also saw the company of Dr. Maya. Alhamdulillah, you are doing a very, very good work for the GCC countries, and not just for the GCC countries, but mainly, this is what is my bread and butter. So I see which kind of work you are doing. So this kind of work and technically speaking, because theory, we have many theory people, and technical side and practical side we have very few. So we need to have more practical side. We need to have more practical people, like the brother Omar Munshi. He's doing a very good work. I saw what he's
Yes.
doing. He's he is a warrior. I like the way he does, and the way he pushes himself. And we need more. We need more people like like Dr. Amaya, like Dr. Shahir, Mr. Like brother Omar, brother Abdul Muhaymin. Like Elmangos. Why? Because we need to make it clear to people that together we can build a tree. Each one, if we go to one side, we will be we will be very weak, and one day we will quit. This is not our aim. Our aim is, let's join our strength. You have 1, I have 0.1. Let's make it 1.1. Don't destroy me, and let's build the tree together. This is my point of view.
Jazakallah khair. And I think this is also part of it. Answer the question of Hamka Fuzan, where I think both of them together can be answered. When we want to reach 2 billion people as a fintech, we need to understand why these guys were excluded first, right? They were excluded because they can't reach a bank, right? Their banks are away from them, right? They don't qualify to have a bank because the banks are rigid in their requirements. And if you take the angle of Sharia, most of these banks, including Islamic banks, they don't actually achieve or design their products and services to achieve maqasid al-Sharia, meaning that in a bank, when a bank design a product, they actually design it for the affluent, right? They don't design it for the poor guys. Right? So if you go to get a finance from a bank, even it's an Islamic bank, if you don't have a good salary, if you don't have a good credit rating, if you don't have, they're not going to give you, which means that's a big sector of the community has been excluded. So fintech here, what is they were, for example, person-to-person financing platform, they actually bringing people. They're telling you, okay, you want to finance your neighbors, you take the risk on your neighbor. You want to finance your friend, you take the risk on your friends. So you actually take out the controls and trying to achieve. And this is, I think, where fintech can play a bigger role. Now, when we go to how we can all cooperate together, as Dr. Imran was saying, and I think this is a critical and very important point. We need to be cooperating. We need to build maybe the second generation, and we start thinking now differently to build the second generation of the Islamic fintechs. For example, and this is maybe for you, Brother Yusuf, and to take it internally with Brother Umar. I actually very much interested as an individual to invest in different areas and different countries with different projects, right? But I don't know about everything. Now I think I am registered in your platform as an investor, and I actually get the deals, for me, and that's maybe from 2 years or 3 years ago, right? But I want to know what's happening in Malaysia. I want to know what's happening in Indonesia, and I want to know what's happening in Pakistan. I want to know, and what I'm thinking is, is to create what we, the aggregators. What happens usually with the markets, right? You go from a fintech solution, like where they started with the travel an industry, and now you have a big aggregators where you actually have all of them. And this is what I think we should be working on. We should be creating a big platform that aggregate all the deals from all crowdfunding, for example, around the world, Islamic fintech, and present it to the investors. You then have a bigger approach, and of course you need to look at the compliance and everything and make sure that you achieve that. But yes, there is a risk of currency exchange when I'm investing in Malaysia or investing in Indonesia, but that's fine. As long as I know, I might actually take the chance, right? Turkey, Pakistan, Morocco, whatever you want to call it. I want to be able to see a global picture, right, for Islamic fintech, and then from there, inshallah, we will be able. And I think this is a gap in the market that we can think, to to work on, inshallah. I think there is also more questions I have on my own list also to think about it. And this is when we talked about the cost of the Sharia earlier, Dr. Yusuf. When we want to talk about, you know, an Islamic fintech, they want to do Sharia compliance, there is always a cost, right? And how this cost actually can be absorbed, how we can, you know, help the entrepreneur actually understand that this is an essential cost to make sure that's actually you do. Otherwise, if you don't take Sharia advice at the moment while you're developing the platform and building your logic, you might actually face yourself, you know, later on that you have to rebuild again, and the cost is much higher if you actually end up building.
Exactly.
Yes,
If I may,
Dr. Maya.
Dr. Shahir,
Yes, please.
exactly. This point is very, very important. And later, earlier in the yesterday, my colleague was making this point actually. Let's not try to build a fintech startup with all the uncertainties of the startup. Let's try to look at our fintech as a company, a rigid, a robust company that's helping to solve a real problem. You were mentioning, Dr. Imran, and that goes to the technical side and to the Sharia side as well. It's the same thing. You are building a big company, you're not building a small project. What Dr. Imran was saying is very, very important also, and it goes with the socio-financial status that we are trying to build. And that is to say that let's see those 2 billion person, Muslim or non-Muslim or anything, why were they not included in the banking sector? Our study says maybe it is, and it's not just to say this, those are the only reasons, but sometimes they are intimidating. And sometimes, like you said, Dr. Shahir, their products are not to respond to those people, because banks are maybe more interested in the big ticket companies and big ticket person, I don't know. But what we can do in this new fintech and new financial era, as you said, is to tackle those people and to go there and see exactly what are their needs and to try to develop a financial solution for those people. Because like you said, Dr. Shahir, if I want to invest in any of these rural areas, we don't know how to invest because we don't know their needs. They have different needs, they are living in a completely different ecosystem, and this is where our financial people have to go and develop their socio-financial solutions, and we will be here to help them develop it and translate it into an active and real solution that those people can benefit from actually.
Thank you, Dr. Maya. Mr. Yusuf, would you like to add something on this side?
Yep. Thank you, Dr. Shahir and Dr. Maya and Dr. Imran. I have been happy to hear all of you. So basically, when it comes to this question, the previous discussion that you had just had, what are we going to do with Islamic fintech for these 2 billion people, unbanked people? So I think when it comes to fintech, this technology is the enabling solution for the financial inclusion. So it is no different for a traditional fintech and Islamic fintech. The only value addition with Islamic fintech is additional Sharia and ethical aspect of it. So as we know that there are a lot of ethical investments or impact investments around the world, and Sharia, how I see it, is a broader arm than the other part. Is the ethical and impact investments are more khas, like they are more specific, addressing more specific values. But Sharia has a broader maqasid, which not only incorporates the specific values that we have in ESG or impact investment or SDG, but it addresses even more. So with that in the picture, I think if that value is truly incorporated in the solution, it should be well enough for innovation to cater those 2 billion unbanked population. Now, with the aggregator part, I'm very much excited with that to share as well that we have been discussing that there are certain challenges, P2P, ECF, and other new fintech platforms are still, I mean, the regulations are still being developed in various countries. They are in various stages. But we actually started that in limited capacity with some of our collaborators and friends and friendly parties in different countries. So we promote each other's projects. This is how we connect each other's investors groups, so that people from other part of the globe can also understand and find the deals that we have here in Indonesia and Malaysia, for example, and vice versa. But hopefully, inshallah, in near future, we will have more efficient aggregator that will aggregate projects and deals around the globe, not only for investments but also for charities, sadaqah, zakat, and wakaf, inshallah. Now, on the cost question that you and Dr. Maya both you have brought in, it's a very valid question. So when I'll talk about uh, Sharia compliance, and I think when we talk about the cost of Sharia compliance, I think maybe we are discussing two different things, or at least not exactly the same thing. So when I talk about I'm talking about Sharia compliance, what I actually mean is that there has to be a Sharia compliance taken into consideration. Sharia advisor is there, and not necessarily officially, like you have shared the experience of IFS. And I mean, there are several other institutions also, mashallah, consultancy firms providing the similar services, or at least the Sharia officers or Sharia scholars are well connected to the sandboxes, for example, for those fintech developments, so that initially when the idea is being generated, they are well aware about the Sharia checkposts and the Sharia checkpoints, and so that they can structure the product from the very beginning. Now, the Sharia compliance certification, which adds cost, it is always not necessary. It's not always necessary unless it is required by the regulations. Other than that, a Sharia check or is sufficient, I believe. So with that, we can achieve both Sharia compliance and also reduce the cost. That's how I see the whole thing.
Jazakallah khair, Mufti Yusuf, and I would like to take the opportunity to welcome Brother Omar with us. Brother Omar is the CEO and founder of ETIS, a well-known platform, and maybe we would like to have your contribution also with us on this subject. Jazakallah khair and welcome.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Shahir, all the esteemed panelists for all your different viewpoints. I think it has been a very enriching session, so thank you very much for that. I heard my name being mentioned a few times, so if you don't mind, just join in to share some thoughts. And two things that I want to share. Firstly is, I think there needs to be a recognition, especially amongst Muslim entrepreneurs who are planning or already in Islamic fintech, that Sharia is not just an endorsement or a stamp of compliance, but beyond that, my view is it has, and not only my view, but what I feel should be all of our views, is that Sharia provides real solutions that are the most perfect for humanity, because the source of this knowledge and these concepts and these principles is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so it has to be the best for humanity. Of course, implementing it is a challenge in its purest form, but that does not mean that we stop there. So we need to have this realization that Sharia is the perfect approach to life, to muamalah, to business, to finance. And if we understand that and if we embrace that, then Islamic fintech will, I believe, inshallah, move to another level very quickly, because we're looking deep into all these principles that are essentially universal ethical principles for humanity. And related to this is my second point, which is that not only do we need to understand and accept this, but we also need the right kind of guidance. And for me, I'm no expert in Islamic finance or Sharia, although I do try to learn, but I'm in no way am I an expert. And I realize that having Mufti Yusuf on board with us makes a huge lot of difference. Sometimes I look at something and I think there's nothing not Sharia compliant here. When I go to him, or when we go to him, he will point out certain things that just on the surface we may not realize. So that's my second point. It's important to have the right kind of Sharia guidance, because the industry has been shaped for a long time by banking, and now with fintech, Sharia advisors, I know a number of them, based on my general interaction, who are trying to see how fintech can realize a lot of the objectives of Sharia that banking or Islamic finance so far has not been able to realize. But if you just go to like a standard approach, for example, in Malaysia, certain Sharia scholars think a certain way because they have been used to it. When you go to them, they'll say, this is the template solution, do it this way, you can do whatever you want, it's Sharia compliant, right? But I want to go deeper, and I believe that is the value of Sharia to Islamic fintech, inshallah. So maybe that's what I wanted to add at this point, and pass back the mic to Dr. Shahir.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Umar. I think this is very interesting introduction or point of view from your side, and I would like to also just looking at the public discussion now we have. There is a lot of exciting discussion going on between the attendees and the participants, and it's quite interesting to see how people actually interacting with the session with us today. This is very exciting for us, and we're very happy for all the comments and the questions that has been put. Of course, we cannot answer everything, but we'll try to see how much we can answer. I can see there is a question or a comment from Brother Bashir Youssef saying, as a fintech startup, I cannot afford a dedicated advisory board, but I can afford a periodic Sharia compliance audit. And I think this is the type of things that we need. Maybe as a startup, you need sometimes to reach a compromise. And as I was saying earlier, that our role as a consultancy business and an advisory Sharia advisory firm, we do want Islamic fintechs to grow. We want every entrepreneur to have the chance to have access to Sharia advice, to make sure that it's simple, it's easy, it's affordable, and we want them to grow, right? So this is why we, as I said, we designed these specific packages to allow for the certification, for the audit, for the ongoing day-to-day compliance of their business. And this is, maybe I'm using this platform now to talk about this because it's important, I think, to let people know that there is solutions. A lot of times, you don't know that there is a solution there outside for you. For example, what Dr. Maya, and their company are trying to do is very interesting concept, where they actually can make it cheaper for entrepreneur actually to use their system, to develop the system they have in mind. So if you have an idea, if you have anything, they can actually provide you with almost a complete solution background to build your solution on it, which means that you can actually achieve a good mileage in your project and your idea without putting a lot of investment. So this is the type of things that we need actually to create the foundation for the industry, the ecosystem for the industry to grow. And I'm sure Brother Umar is also working from a crowdfunding point of view and an investment, because the other element is the technology. You have the Sharia side, but the third pillar for the fintech is actually investment, and whether we can actually provide in funding opportunities to these entrepreneurs, to these startups, so they can actually grow. And maybe I will, maybe you can shed a lot or a little bit on this part, because I know you have this event for fundraising for fintechs, which is connected here, and this is also an important part. And maybe you can let us know a little bit about what you're trying to do there.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Zahir. I'm cognizant of not wanting to hijack this session, but I will share a little bit more after this, inshallah, about the fundraising immediately after this session. So maybe you can proceed with the other panelists first.
Sure. Maybe Dr. Maya can explain to us now on how you can help actually an entrepreneur with an idea. So what do you have to offer? How far you can actually bring him with the solution that you have developed to make sure that actually he achieve what they're looking for from the design, from the idea, in a fast way? Because going to market, time to market is very critical at this time. And one of the things that actually usually happens with the development, and I'm talking from our own experience, we started doing our fintech solution a few years back ago. right? And we're building and building and building, and then you find out by the time you reach to the market, actually your technology is out of date, right? And then you have to rebuild again, right? So and this is a critical. So how you can actually help in this area?
Exactly. What you're saying is typically the problems that most fintech or startup actually are seeing. As a fresh startup with an idea, you need you are here to prove a point, to have a pilot maybe or MVP. So you need 2 or 3 maybe technical people to help you with that. Then you see that you need to develop the whole product, and this takes a lot of months to they need to correlate and communicate in a very good terms. So you have the first product that you go into the market with. Then here you think that everything will be very nice and very smooth, and you need only the maintenance. But the fact of the matter is, all the regulations and all the maintenance and all the they come crowded on you, and you really have very wavy and very unstable platform that you are working with. Not also mentioning the security that you need to have, the scalability once you are growing into that, the malleability of changing your idea. All of this should be done in a very professional and very robust technology platform. After all of this, Dr. Shahir, that what you experience, that the whole technology maybe sometimes is overhauled and something new is coming up, and you need to rebuild and rewrite the whole technology that you are doing. And this might be a killer for the fintech. What we developed actually is a platform with all the microprocesses that any product, any fintech or non-fintech product will have to have, like the caching, the auditing, the multi-tenant, all these very specific microprocesses that they are talking together. And we developed it in a platform that we call iMore. To say the least, this iMore is sometimes 70 to 80% of any application that could be developed. What is rest for you to develop is the processes, the microprocess, the functionalities of your specific and very customized business or idea. And this will take a certain time and certain effort for sure to be developed. And we are offering those microprocesses to be developed, then the cost of startups to start in a robust and very specific, very clean way. The iMore itself is offered for the startups also for an equity, because they cannot afford to pay in cash. Only the microprocesses that are customized are offered for less than the cost of their development. And by this offer, we are giving the startup the most important aspect of his product is time to market. So the first thing that you do is, when you're calling us, you're already 90% or 80% done with your development. What is rest is your functionalities, and it is done at a very minimal cost. So you're already 90% done. So, and this will take more than maybe 6 months. You already developed it with iMore. iMore already have all the microprocesses that you need to start with. And then all along the way, we're offering to help with 50-man month, less than the cost, and we are here to make this happening in the most healthy way that we can actually.
Thank you, Dr. Maya. I think this is very interesting proposition and an interesting way to bring in, Islamic fintechs faster to the market, because we need them there, we need them out, and we need, of course, the help and this type of solutions. Now, this takes me now to a different maybe element, and I'm worried about the time, that we're running out of time, and there is so many things that we need to do. But a very important, I think, way of or aspect of the discussion is about the business model, and we have a question from Tijani Muhammad, and he's saying, what is the role of Islamic fintech finance to promoting different business model? Now I want maybe to bring this question to Mufti Yusuf. When we talk about Islamic and Sharia compliance and ethics at the same time, how this all together, and for example achieving the social development goals of the UN, how all these things come together, right, within an Islamic fintech, how we can actually manage all these different propositions, different way of doing business and try to achieve it? Or is it really the Sharia is an umbrella for all these things together?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Shahir. Yeah, Sharia indeed is the umbrella for all of those things. But what happened is that, as I mentioned, when we started Islamic finance or the model Islamic banking in 1960s, and then proceeded with 1980s and onwards, we started, mostly finding alternatives to conventional products. So it was more in the processes that we complied with Sharia. But if we look at Sharia from the objectives point of view, from the maqasid point of view, we find that Sharia has given us broader guidelines to protect and ourselves, our progeny, our mind, our religion, and our wealth as well. I mean, all the 5 branches of maqasid. So from that point of view, when we look at the as sustainable development goals by UN or the VBI, value-based intermediation, from Bank Negara Malaysia, or we look at impact investments, ethical investments, we see a very good convergence. And in fact, the maqasid is quite broader than what we have in all those things. And since it has come from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, it is. It is like unchangeable, and also it directs to the best of the humanity. Like when we study the ethical investment or the impact investment, we see a lot of portfolio were included at some point as under the ethical investment indices, and then later were removed, and vice versa. But when it comes to ethics that were proposed by Sharia, it is static. So things that were ethical before, things are still ethical. Things will be still ethical until the day of judgment. So that's the value proposition of ethics that is proposed by Sharia, because it's coming directly from the creator, as Brother Omar Munshi has also emphasized on. So that is how I look at that. Yeah, Jazakallah khairan, Dr. Shahid.
Shukran, Mufti Yusuf. I will give that chance now to Dr. Imran also to let us know about his experience and about fintech and how he see this. And specifically, you mentioned that there is also some experience from Kuwait that you want to share with us.
Yes, I just wanted to hear and thank you very much. I was really, really thankful for Brother Omar to come inside our conference because I mentioned his name. So I made the ghiba directly and he came. So that's good. So next time I will make ghiba of someone else, so you will come in. Let's see who is the second name that comes in my mind, so I can see if he can come or she can come into the panel. Meanwhile, I just wanted to share that a country that is, for me is not, is a very familiar country to me, which is Kuwait. I go to Kuwait quite often, not in this era of coronavirus. Although before coronavirus, I would be every single month in Kuwait. So I'm very familiar to the Kuwait financial system, and I see that a model for Islamic fintech or Islamic banking also. We're not speaking about banking, but it's good also for us to have a clue at what is going on, and probably Dr. Maya, she's aware of it. Kuwait Finance House and Warba Bank, because they are Bubian also, because they are Islamic banks. They are quite very strong in promoting Islamic fintech. They help, and they are not just helping the big tickets. They help small and the one which are really very, very small. Let's say the ones who have 1-2 dinars, not 1-2 dinars, but just to give a clue that they are very helpful to all customers, and this is good, and this is what we need to have as an example for us. And one good thing that I remember when I used to study in Saudi Arabia, one of the banks that I was used to see as a model, because I didn't know any GCC country apart from Saudi Arabia, was a Rajhi Bank. So I think many of the countries, like Malaysia, of course, is one of the model countries in Islamic finance, but other countries should have a look into Kuwait, and and get some lessons from them, because they are doing quite a very good job. And from what I heard, and from what I got from the other sessions also, that I heard some of the sessions, I think we have to understand that the Sharia, like Brother Omar said, Sharia is the key. If the Sharia is the key, we have to enhance, and we have to make it so clear for people, because people, when they say Sharia, they say, oh, 1,400 years ago and khalas, that's it. We are very, 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 we are very in the past. But no, it's not. We are not in the past. We are in the future. We are in the present. We are everywhere. So I think, for the new generation, which is our generation, and the ones that are starting now, it's good for everyone to understand that together, young, old, medium, we all together, we can build a new perspective of fintech, Islamic fintech, and Islamic finance. Okay, sorry, I know the time is very, very short. So thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And I hope we exchange our views more and more. And we have to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first, and secondly, the ones that promoted this event. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless them and give them a lot of blessings, and whatever they wanted to achieve, Allah made for them everything easy as well for us. But we make dua for everyone. So when we say for the others, Allah and the angels, they do dua for us. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah khair. I think we're getting to the last part of our session today. There is one question just pop up a couple of minutes ago from Kazim, and asking what should be the role of Islamic financial institution in standardizing, I think, the Islamic fintech in the future. I think Islamic banks can work, in a good way to help fintech. There is two types of fintech. There is an enabling fintech, and there is a disrupting fintech. Sometimes the disrupting fintech is actually, they work in a way outside the scope of the banking system. So they operate on themselves, and they actually in the future might become also a competitor of the banks. While enabling fintech, they actually can work, and this is one of the things that actually we're working on. We have our own fintech solution that we have designed called iFin, and iFin can be a front end for digitalizing the entire financing process for all Islamic banks. So this is where we could actually be an instrument, and this is an example of an instrument where you can actually see the standardization happening at the same time, where the agreements, the front end, the process, the fast experience, the knowledge, how it's happening on the financing can be actually extended to all the banks. And we hope that this is one of the things that we can work on. Finally, I would like to give 2 minutes for Maya and Mufti Yusuf to close, inshallah, to give us their closing remark before we close. Jazakumullah khair.
Thank you so much. As Dr. Imran was saying, may God bless us and bless those who organized this meeting. We are very excited to hear all the new financial solutions that we can help with, and we can partner with those people, those entrepreneurs excited and a little bit maybe not sure about their technological solutions. We are here to help them with our everything that we can and our proposition. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Shahir, Dr. Imran, Dr. Maya, and also our beloved audience and Elmangos and Ethis for organizing this event. I think the final few lines I would like to share is that Sharia scholars are also upgrading themselves to understand financial technologies. I think it's time for collaboration everywhere. So Sharia and fintech and the programmers, coders, everyone needs to, entrepreneurs needs to collaborate to understand each other, the processes, and what we can and what we cannot. I think with the broader objective of Sharia, if everyone is empowered, we can achieve, inshallah, true Sharia-based models through fintech, through financial technologies. Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Shahir Abbas. Jazakumullah khairan.
Thank you. I would like to thank everyone actually who participated with us today on the panel. And I would like also to thank all the attendees and the guests. And I think maybe, mashallah, I think we have maybe 267 guests, I think, maybe, or this is guest 267, the name. So I'm not sure, maybe Brother Muhaymin, Abdul Mu'min can tell us, about the participants, how many participants we had today in the session. But I would like to thank all of you for attending the session. I hope it was informative and helpful for you to understand the Sharia side of the Islamic fintechs and how they work together. Jazakumullah khair, and up to you, Brother Mansi, to close, inshallah, the session. Jazakumullah khair.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for our lovely speakers and esteemed moderator. I just wanted to quickly highlight that. Oh, sorry, Omar is here. So Omar, you can just take over. You can take over the mic, and I'll do it right after your closing remarks.
Sure. Thank you very much. So before I share something very quickly, again, thank you very much to all the speakers for your contribution and for your time. Really, really very insightful. I wish we could go on longer, but it's really past time. So inshallah, hope that we can continue our discussions and communicate, as well as the community that's already forming around the Islamic Fintech Week. We'll see how to keep the community engaging well beyond this event, inshallah. And Brother Mansi can share more about that. Just touching on this topic of fundraising, we have, as part of the Fintech Week, organized the pitch, where we match startups to investors, specifically startups and solutions in Islamic Fintech. And Alhamdulillah, the response has been quite great, given that we just spread it by WhatsApp and social media. We had close to 50 different startups applying, and eventually about 70% of them qualified to go on to the final stage. Right now, it will be mostly closed-door pitching to the investors who have signed up. And that's also another very encouraging sign. We have significant VC, PE, corporates, as well as angel investors who have appeared, some of them out of nowhere. And a number of them have already invested in Islamic Fintech. So inshallah, we really hope that this will help to drive the whole sector and make a lot of difference. One thing I want to share before I go is that for the participants of the pitch, the startups, we are holding a session tomorrow night, immediately after the last session at this time at 10:30. It's a free webinar about fundraising, how to pitch and raise funds from investors. So I'll be joined by another speaker. It's a free session. It's not on Big Marker. Just let us know if you're interested, and inshallah, we will share the link. You can reach out to me on social media, on LinkedIn. Just search for Umar Munshi, and we'll be happy to respond to you, inshallah. So I will pass the mic back to Brother Mansi. And before that, again, thank you to everyone. Alhamdulillah, I'm honored to be the co-chair of this event, together with Ethis and with Brother Mansi from Elmangos. Truly appreciate all your time and your attention. And inshallah, from here, a lot of good things will happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Omar. Just quickly want to highlight that it was not that, what audience what audience are watching today and the speakers are witnessing today was just 2 months ago, was just an idea, and it was really thanks to the dedication and the hard work, and how we can how we conceptualize this idea into a platform to bring really global stakeholders, key players, fintech companies, amazing speakers like yourselves, and just bringing communities together to really discuss the growth of halal digital economy. I'm not talking about Islamic fintech alone. When we talk about halal digital economy, Islamic fintech is just second small part of it, but there is more beyond just Islamic fintech. There's halal food, there's halal tourism, which is on hold right now, and there are other sectors, from modest fashion to education to other sectors. So it takes a lot of hard work and really a lot of efforts to bring people together, especially that doing something remotely, completely remotely, working according to different time zones, communicating with over 68 plus speakers in different parts of the world. So thanks for the team, thanks for the Ethis team, and thanks for Elmangos team, and thanks to the speakers who believe in the vision and the mission of Elmangos and Ethis. I want to really thank the audience for their patience. Today we were joined by 650 audience attendees from different parts of the world. And in total for the Islamic Fintech Week, we have over 1,800 attendees throughout the 4 days or 5 days. So the audience are really patient, and they're really asking questions. They're engaging. They're really asking thought-provoking questions, and that's really good. And that's the purpose of this panel or this summit, is to really share deep insights and genuine feedback on certain areas. So thanks. I'm thanking the audience for their patience, and hopefully we can keep up with the momentum with the next 2 days. Today's theme was the future of Islamic fintech. Tomorrow's theme is investing, and after tomorrow theme is going to be fintech for financial inclusion. So we invite all of you to register. Hopefully tomorrow's and after tomorrow's webinars is not sold out, so you can still register. I just quickly want to highlight that. The company that we joined a while ago, which is KnowledgeNet. What is interesting about KnowledgeNet is that they help fintech companies build the technology solution. So if you're a fintech, if you're an entrepreneur who have an idea and you want to build it, and you don't know how can you build it, you don't have the investment, and basically what you do, you just share the project with them, you talk to them, and they basically help you in building the solution itself in return of, I think, a small percentage of the company. So thank you very much. It's been really a pleasure listening to all our speakers today. It's been really amazing to see the Q&As, the amount of questions we have, and thank you so much once again. And I wish you a lovely afternoon or morning or evening, wherever you are. And it's afternoon here in Istanbul, so 5:30 p.m. in Istanbul. And I believe in Malaysia is around 10 p.m. So we'll see you tomorrow, inshallah. Thanks to everyone. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum assalam, everyone, and
everybody.
thank you very much for the opportunity and for this lovely event. Jazakumullah khair.
Thank you, Jazakumullah.
Thank you.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum assalam.
Thank you, Dr. Shah.
مع السلامة في أمان الله.
Startup World is so shiny and enticing from the outside, yet is risky and unpredictable from the inside. Did you know that 3 out of every 5 startups fail due to poor products delivered to the market? Nevertheless, there is no better time to think about your own startup. shifting your services or your line of business to achieve the utmost ambition is more attainable now than ever before. You are on the verge of a new and exciting venture, and KnowledgeNet is here to help you. KnowledgeNet is interested to talk about your idea and get it into reality through our leading solution, iMore for Startups. iMore is a flexible and easy to understand cloud development space, and our developers can manipulate it to create a secure and scalable applications for you. With iMore, now it's your turn to make the right move. So shiny and enticing from the outside, yet is risky and unpredictable from the inside. Did you know that 3 out of every 5 startups fail due to poor products delivered to the market? Nevertheless, there is no better time to think about your own startup. Shifting your services or your line of business to achieve the utmost ambition is more attainable now than ever before. You are on the verge of a new and exciting venture, and KnowledgeNet is here to help you. KnowledgeNet is interested to talk about your idea and get it into reality through our leading solution, iMore for Startups. iMore is a flexible and easy to understand cloud development space, and our developers can manipulate it to create a secure and scalable applications for you. With iMore, our developers can integrate your functions and develop your web